All right.
Oh, fuck.
Live on Facebook via GITC Radio, episode 603. Because I looked it up. It did me a smart.
Good job.
Share to your page. Geekin the City Radio. Geekin the City Radio, episode 603. Go live. Pairing.
There it is. Pairing.
The browser says it's preparing, so I'm going to wait just a little bit longer, even though it says live on here.
In the City Radio is now.
Perfect. All right. Hello. Welcome to Geek in the City issue number 603. I am your host, Rita.
And I am your other host, Kaebel Hashtani. It just feels weird.
It's not like we haven't done a show without Aaron before. In fact, the reason I have this computer is because we were doing shows without Aaron almost like kind of a lot. But it's been a long time since then.
I'm amused that the auto captions on Facebook Live spelled it ERIN.
Interesting.
You have to say Aaron in order to get it to spell Aaron correctly.
Insert Key and Peele jokes here.
Yep. No, it comes up as AA Run.
I don't even have captions on my Facebook Live.
Oh, I think I had turned it on, so when it's silent, it just auto-generates captions. But yeah. Hi, Denise. How was your week?
Hot,
Yep.
and full of dead cats.
Mm.
Singular, but that's enough. That is a full amount of that.
That is 100% more dead cat than I think anyone really wants.
It is definitely 100% more dead cat than I ever want. It's also 100% more dead cat than I've ever had to deal with. So I had to handle my first little dead body ever. Oh my God. And it was the first day of the heat wave. So not the hottest day, but obviously a deadly amount of heat. And so we waited until dark to deal with the situation. And at some point, moisture was streaming down my face, and I'm not sure if it was like tears or sweats, maybe both. I just felt so bad.
What can you do? I mean, like, you did the thing that people find difficult to do, and that is, I think, an unspoken rule of pet stewardship. That if you are with them in the beginning, you have to be there for them in the end.
Mm-hmm. And I've never had that. That's like a long, like, series of events as to why that is, but you know, for various circumstances, I've never been with a pet. Oh no, that's not true. Christian had greyhounds when we first moved in together, and they got to a point where their health was impacting their quality of life, so decisions had to be made.
I have put down 2 cats in my adult life. One of them moved with me from Eastern Oregon to Portland, and the other was found him. He was wandering a neighborhood, and they were the 2 cats that I had for the longest period of time. I had to put one down, and then the other I had to put down within about 2 months.
Oh, wow.
It was December and February, because the other one went, well, they're just not here anymore, so I don't care. And they were both 18. So yeah, it's been I don't want to stick on this because this is not what we're here to talk about. But it's been on my mind more lately because as Manju gets older, she has more health issues.
Mhm.
She's a 16-year-old cat.
Yeah, Claymore is 13, 14.
Yeah.
I lose track of the number, but and she's definitely been having some weird behavioral issues lately that I'm worried are health related. So it could just be that she's a cat though, and cats are sometimes assholes.
They're
I
not
realize
sometimes assholes. They are always assholes. They
I
are
realize that
assholes with adorable traits that keep us
Yes.
from strangling them.
like babies,
Mhm.
like little human babies, but with more fur. We got into this topic without clarifying what we were talking about. So for anyone who doesn't just like diligently follow me on social media, it was extremely hot in the Northwest, which I'm sure everyone is more or less aware of, and
It is,
and
yep.
and there was a dead cat outside of my house on the first day of 3 like world record breaking temperatures.
It
Or
was record
historically.
breaking. Yeah, it was record breaking for Portland area. It was notable that it was hotter in Portland than it was in the Sahara Desert.
98% of the planet.
Yep.
We were hotter than.
So, yeah.
We were
That's been
hotter than
fun.
my hometown of Phoenix, which is the reason I left Phoenix.
Yeah, that's
amongst
not right.
many. No, it's not.
Keep wondering why I'm squinting, and then I'm like, oh right, put on your glasses, dummy. You're old.
Oh man, I can't function at all without corrective something.
Right.
I won't say glasses because I have contacts too, but like I can walk to the bathroom and back to bed. That's it.
You need corrective eyewear of some sort. Give me a second.
Yes. But the nice thing about relying on your eyewear so heavily is that you can't really forget or misplace them very easily because you're not getting far without them.
Yep. I wear mine at work, and I take them off and on frequently because I'm doing computer work and I have to get up and talk to people and do computer work. So I went to go get a lanyard yesterday to put it on and couldn't find any, and ended up getting these really classy, I'll hold it against, see it? Little eyeglasses. They're old church lady glasses chain. And I'm like, yep, I'm just old lady Kaebel now.
Little old ladies are where it's at when it comes to stylish eyewear chains.
Yep.
Like who wants a fucking like neoprene croaky when you can have cool gunpowder metal chain with little glasses on them? Come on.
Yeah, I just said, yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna roll right into it because who the fuck cares? Oh, and I can hear it in that voice. Steve Coker just did church lady. Isn't that special?
I sometimes I'm like, oh man, I should have gotten the LASIK when I had the chance, because then I would have had at least a small window of my lifetime where I didn't rely on glasses before I need them some more again. Because when you get old, you just need glasses anyway for different eyeball reasons that I'm going to not get into right now. No one cares. No one cares why old people need glasses, but it's a whole thing.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. While I was picking up the chain, I'm like, do I need to pick up a pair of readers too while I'm here? Not for reading per se, but I'm like putting on the 3.5 strength going, oh yeah, this would help mini painting a lot. So that way I don't have to have a giant magnifying glass in front of me trying to do this. It's like, oh yeah, this will be fine.
I have a magnifying glass with LED lights around the ring for when I'm doing cross stitch sometimes.
Nice. Very nice.
The small little things are up close is what I can see. And
it's the stuff far away.
Yeah. I am nearsighted. So what are we talking about today besides old lady eyewear and dead cats?
Hey, that's it. That's the show. That's
good night, everybody.
That's all we're doing. Yep, we're done. Well, since we didn't get to talk Bad Batch last week because you we're an episode
We're off the
behind,
ball.
much to your surprise. We have 2 episodes of Bad Batch to talk about tonight. The latest episode of Loki. All of this will be very spoiler heavy, so if you haven't watched them, you get on that.
I bought you guys an extra week. That's all I can do.
And then I wanted to recap some stuff that happened over the weekend. There was the first ever Lego Con, which was a video conference to Lego convention held in Billund at the infamous Lego House. Which, if you don't know what that looks like, you should look it up. It looks cool. But that will also, I think I'll dovetail that into Bad Batch, maybe.
Yeah, we can kind of like weave in and out.
Yep.
Well, in that case, where would you like to start?
I think we can start with Loki. Get Loki's fairly compact, and then kind of weave back and forth in Bad Batch and Lego news, since some of it is related.
Yes, that's a guarantees for everyone.
Yep.
All right, so episode 3 of Loki, which I'm sure has a episode title, but I don't actually know what it is off the top of my head. I'm the worst at this.
I don't remember what the title is either. It's something punny to do with time. But this is the episode where we get to see, like, the last thing we saw was Loki running through a portal after
himself, technically.
Herself. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I had to like really like break that down, but yes, that is correct. Lamentus is the name of the
Lamentus. Yes, because that's the name of the planet that they're on.
Still there's still a joke in there, but
this was and I'm not going to take credit for this. I'm going to give this all credit to Indigo Kelly, who said this, and that is, this was the most Doctor Who episode of Loki to date. And like, he mentioned that early in the day, and when I finally sat down and watched it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Matt Smith era Doctor Who.
Okay, if
little Tom Baker Doctor Who.
I wouldn't be able to answer or like speak to the Tom Baker part, but Matt Smith definitely had some of the more melancholy arcs. And so Lamentus would definitely be a Matt Smith style of Doctor Who episode.
And it was everything that could possibly go wrong kept going wrong. To the degree of like, are they actually going to get out of this? How are they going to get out of this? Or is this just suddenly going to end at episode 4? Even though it's supposed to be on for 6 episodes. Which, in my mind, that's some of the best Doctor Who work, is when you feel like, oh my God, are they actually going to kill Doctor Who in this episode? Are they actually going to make it out? And I think from my standpoint, trying to figure out, it's like, well, which one was the Doctor and which one is the companion? It's like, oh, that's just it. They both think they're the Doctor.
Yes, they are both extremely critical of one another. Sylvie is the other one,
as she does not like being called Loki.
She doesn't like being called a lot of things.
True.
Well, now I have to think of what the other one is, because I said that.
I don't know.
My brain is just not. It's all used up for the day. But I used it all up prior to this. I had my first day of work today, and I've run out of brain apparently.
It happens.
Okay.
But I guess to finish the recap, it's the Loki and Sylvie are trapped on a planet, as Loki pointed out in the episode before. Sylvie has been hiding in various apocalypses, which she can do because she can do anything and it doesn't change or affect the outcome. It's still an apocalypse.
Right. It's the end of the world, so there's no there's nothing there to suffer the effects of whatever she may have done.
Right. She does not cause any variation in the grand timeline. But they're transported to an entire planet that's about to get smashed by another planet, and their little transportation device runs out of juice and then gets broken. So there's no way off this planet as far as they can tell. And so they've got to figure that out. Oh, yes, Norm, agreed.
Mhm.
He says that I think this episode had some of the best fight choreography for a Marvel show yet.
Oh, hold on. But that means that you're putting it up there with that Daredevil hallway fight scene.
Yeah.
If you're talking all of Marvel television.
Okay. So, Pushpin, we're going to go back and watch some Marvel fights and do just this, where it's like, oh, what was the best Marvel television fight scene? Because we'll need to go through Daredevil, Punisher, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. WandaVision doesn't really have any fight scenes. It's magic fight choreography. It's different.
Yeah, there's no physical interacting with each other.
Right.
There's Vision and Vision, but
yeah, that all still feels mystical.
Right.
Like,
and I think most of that it's pretty heavily CGI'd as opposed to practical. So maybe don't count that.
But I also feel like there's some intense fight choreography from Falcon and Winter Soldier. But again, I'm not going to argue at this point right now, because I do think that the fight scene between Loki and Sylvie was fantastic. It was a ballet, a vicious, violent ballet.
Very graceful.
I saw someone else comment on the internet about the fact that the actress that's playing Sylvie, I don't know why I don't have IMDb up right now. What's wrong with me? It's like I've never done this before, ever. But they commented that little mannerisms and facial tics that she had and ways of standing, it's like, oh, that's 100% what Tom Hiddleston does. Like, she doesn't look like Tom Hiddleston, and yet she looks like Loki.
Damn it. Sophia DiMartino is the actress's name. I did not pay close enough attention. And now, damn it. I'm going to have to watch it again. I'm just going to have to watch it again. Because that's a really important element to acting when you're acting like another character.
I definitely think that are you shitting me? That's hilarious. The entirety of Loki is going to need a second and third and probably fifth watch.
I will say that, like, I know we're only 3 episodes in, but definitely Loki is, I want to say, the smartest of the three shows that we've gotten in the past year. Just in terms of, like, they have to loop in all of this, paradox, timeline, math, and science.
I think now with Loki, I think that they've managed to hit all of the major points in the MCU so that we're touching, like, it's creating that connective tissue between Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. Have you seen that yet?
No.
Okay.
I need to, because
damn it, Bean. Yeah. Gotta watch that one. Wait, I thought you watched all the Marvel movies.
Which one is Far From Home?
It is the one that came after Endgame, where he's on a European trip.
Okay, no, I watched everything up until Endgame, or up through Endgame. That's where I'm like, okay, I'm done.
No, you're not done.
I guess
Spider-Man Far From Home is the last one.
Okay. All right.
Gotta
I'll
watch
get.
that one.
I promise I'm gonna watch it soon. Then I'm gonna even write it down.
It did more to upset the status quo of the Marvel universe than Endgame did.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. That's all you get.
Okay.
But
But so how does that tie back into Loki?
so with Loki, like Wanda and Vision touch on what a lot of the agencies were doing immediately after the blip, when everyone came back, and into the few weeks before after that. So we get to see like, and we're solidifying the use of magic in the Marvel universe, as well as re-releasing one of the most powerful members of Earth's Defense Force, the Vision, back out into the wild with less control held over him. Yeah, far less oversight. That's because he's Vision. That's funny. And then Falcon Winter Soldier kind of show where the direction of the heroes are going to go when they finally get their shit together. And now that Sam is Cap, it's like, oh, okay, people are going to follow him. And now with Loki, it's touching on both all the messiness left in the timeline, more magic, as well as all things cosmic. Like he's very much still living in the realm of like, oh right, you're from space, so like the more grandiose adventure, it makes sense, which keeps us in mind of going, oh right, the Guardians are still out there, Thor is still out there, all of these other things are still going on out in space that will eventually affect Earth. So I think that's where these three shows have been doing a lot of work getting us all ready for the next 8 movies over the course of the next year and a half.
Yeah, it's been really impressive to see like how much heavy lifting is going on. It's like it's basically like filling in the margins for us. And that way, presumably, there will need to be a lot less base building, like establishment stuff happening in the movies. They can just sort of jump into the next phase of stories without doing a lot of heavy introductory work and, setting the scene.
Yep. And that will still occur in a lot of the movies, because you can't, as a filmmaker, you can't assume that everyone's watched all of the TV shows before going to see the next movie, or like watch the last movie from the last phase.
All right, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I still wish I was more excited about Black Widow. And that we're now coming up on, oh god, that releases next weekend.
Oh shit. Wow, that's fast. I'm more interested in it than I was before. For various reasons. The trailers were kind of, like they're well-made trailers. They build excitement. But also just remembering, I'm like, okay, well, look, Loki, we know Loki is dead. Last we checked, and now he's at a show here, and we're all excited about that. So, and Vision was dead. I don't think we covered this the last time we talked about it, but Vision was gone, and now he's not. And you're like, whoa, okay, what's going on here?
As Dr. Darcy put it, he was like dead.
Yes, he was dead.
He wasn't snapped dead. He was dead.
So, yeah, I think that my initial ambivalence towards the Black Widow movie was about a lot more than just, oh well, that character's already dead. What do I care?
Right. It's like we know how she got there. It's like, do we? Someone pointed out to me the other day that there is a figure seen in one of the more recent trailers that they were describing, it's like, yeah, he's got a hood on, and he's got a bow, and he's got a sword, and I'm like, yeah, Taskmaster. It's like, no, I know who Taskmaster is. This person was not Taskmaster. It was some covert agent running around with a bow and arrow and a sword. And the movie's supposed to take place in Budapest, which harkens back to the Avengers and the throwaway joke dialogue of between Hawkeye and Black Widow, where she goes, yeah, they're taking on, fighting in the streets, fighting aliens. She's shooting guns. She goes, yeah, this reminds me of Budapest. And he just turns around and goes, you and I remember Budapest very differently. Which their theory is that this is the hooded mystery figure is Hawkeye, and we are going to get to see Budapest.
Interesting.
Which also ties into my theory that they're going to bring that Florence Pugh is going to carry on being the Black Widow in future movies following this movie. So Scarlett Johansson can go off and, direct, I don't know, the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie or something. That seems like the direction that she would take, is like executive producer or director of an upcoming movie.
That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I know that's the direction that Chris Evans was supposed to be going. But man, who knows?
But back to Loki.
Back to Loki.
Yes. So you made the comment about how the episode title Lamentis is obviously a pun. This is the first time that no, I guess not the first time, but we take a little bit more deeper of a dive into Loki's introspective self, like the things that he's done in his life, choices that he's made, past love interests that clearly did not pan out, but we don't know why. And the same for Sylvie. They both clearly have some personal relationships that they're not really willing to share with one another, but they're burdened by enough to at least comment on, while they're busy being smug at each other.
It takes a lot of energy and effort to be that smug all the time.
They're just like so convinced they're each so convinced of their superiority over the other.
I think one of the things that I'm really digging is that through 3 episodes now, they have given Loki time to grieve in such a way that makes it feel very, very authentic. Like, we see, and those are the moments that we actually see change within the character. Like when we see him see the fate of his mother, the fate of his father, his own fate in episode 1, and dealing with that, dealing with the Ragnarok destroying Asgard in episode 2, where it's like that gives him his pivotal clue and he's off and running, but he has that moment where he just sits there reading the file over and over again while a single tear is coming down his face. He's like, not gonna lose it, not gonna lose it. Yeah, I am. I'm gonna lose it a little. Okay, I'm done. Gonna move on. But they're acknowledging that in such a way that I think is great. And the drunken singing scene. Oh man, that was gorgeous. Like, that was just so moving, I felt.
That's another one of those moments where you're like, you're thinking about some like really some really dark days from your past. You're not going to tell us what they are, but it's like very clearly something that you're rehashing right now in not the best environments also. um
But it also shows it's like, yeah, he's, I mean, if he's similar age to Thor, what does he say his age is in Infinity War? He's like
Oof.
1,500 years old. So Loki is in that same age range about this time. So he's seen and done lots of shit.
Mhm.
So stopping to get drunk and have a sing along with complete strangers in enemy territory, it's like, I don't care. This is how I feel right now. I may not get a chance to do it later, so I'm just going to do it. And everything's going to be fine because I know I can get out of whatever situation is going to get thrown at me.
Right. Meanwhile, Sylvie, who presumably is in the same ballpark age, considers his behavior to be pretty fucking reckless. And it's hard to disagree with her because it does botch the whole plan.
Providing, of course, the plan was actually going to work in the first place, which seemed
True.
unlikely. It's like, oh, we need to siphon off an entire engine's worth of energy just to power this iPhone that we have with us.
It's upsetting that something so powerful is so easily destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then again, iPhones.
Yep. You know, that's the problem with being left to our own devices. Sometimes our devices break.
I can't believe I laughed at that.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry I made that joke.
And just like you said, the plan does not pan out, and then they have a backup plan, which is like, okay, we can't essentially sabotage this civilization to get the power we need. So now the planet's going to get destroyed, and we're stuck on it. Oh, what if we don't let that happen?
What if we get off the planet? Makes perfect sense. And leads into another fantastic fight scene, only to be, punctuated with the explosion of said ship that they're trying to get on. And I love both of their reactions to it. That Loki's reaction is just to stand there dumbfounded that it actually didn't work. And Sylvie walking away as if to find a pub. Like, nope, fuck this, I'm gonna get drunk.
Bex made a comment in the chat that she found very relatable. The way she sort of just like walks off and just like screams, you're so angry right now. You're so angry. Like but there's nothing you can do about the situation. So you're just gonna just scream. Yes, that is very relatable, Bex. And I think it's a really good it shows the difference between Loki and Sylvie. Loki throughout this misadventure is very laissez-faire. He's not overly committed to the plan or its success. As indicated by reckless behavior that gets them thrown off the train and breaks the temp pad. And Sylvie, I know we talked about how they're both really disdainful of one another. She might be more right, simply because Loki doesn't really seem to care that much, and she's very dedicated to her plan and her mission, and it doesn't feel like he's taking it seriously.
That is definitely a way to look at it. There is a way to look at it from Loki's perspective, in that if he is all in with the TVA, if they fail to get off the planet and both die, he's succeeded in his mission. If he and Sylvie make it off planet due to whatever plan he comes up with on the fly, he succeeds again because he's smarter than everybody else and figured it out and lived to you know, tell the tale yet again.
Mm.
So yes, there's definitely he doesn't seem to take any of this seriously. He's not doing anything to try and help. There are a couple levels where not getting off this planet serves him better.
Do you think that that's the case here? Is like he's
I
maybe not
don't.
overly committed because he doesn't care if he
I don't think
survives?
that's true. I don't think that's how the show is written, and I don't think that's the direction they're going. But it is a valid interpretation, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that being the actual case. It certainly helps with if you tie in the song
Mm-hmm.
that he was drunkenly singing on the train. I had initially been looking at it from this perspective of like he's got this like sort of like gifted child syndrome where like he's so used to always succeeding and not having to try very hard that now
Mm-hmm.
he's just sort of like dicking around through this situation and it's blowing up and he's just convinced that it's going to be fine.
Which largely I think that is still what's going on with him.
But now you've got me thinking like what if it's like a little bit more than that? I don't know.
There is one more piece of the puzzle that kind of throws a wrench in my theory, and that is that he, in talking with Sylvie, he has the revelation that after Mobius says everyone was created by the timekeepers to be part of the TVA, he learns through, like Sylvie's talking about her interactions. He's like, what did you say? It's like, oh, before she worked at the TVA, he's like, everyone at the TVA believes that they were created specifically to work at the TVA, and that's not true. They're all variants. They're all variants plucked from the timeline to work at the TVA. So, like,
I'd almost forgotten about that.
yeah.
You're right.
So that gave him a different focus once they get to once it was, oh, we have to get on the ship to get off the planet now. It's like, I have to get back to the TVA because I can take this, like I can start to tear it down from within because none of these people know that they've been lied to their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still really fascinated to see where any of this is going to go. Cameos at this point all feel like anything is on the table. Like I'm not going to be surprised at anybody showing up, except Mephisto. I would be surprised if Mephisto showed up.
Oh yeah, you and Aaron have been on about the Mephisto thing for a while now, so.
That's because everyone else has been on about the Mephisto thing. Like,
Mm.
yes, if Mephisto was going to show up, he would have shown up in WandaVision, and that wasn't the point. Like that was not the point of WandaVision. It was about making Wanda more, showing Wanda's actual strength versus tying it into, oh, this is being manipulated by Mephisto. He's doing all the things. It's like, okay, fine. The devil made everybody do it. I don't fucking care. Merrick showed me a thing yesterday in WandaVision.
Oh.
She's like, so I was talking with a friend of mine, and she's convinced that they edited the after credit scene in WandaVision. So she watched it, freaked out a little bit, waited till I got home. We're hanging out, and then she's like, oh my God, I almost forgot. And then she's like, you have to watch the after credit scene of WandaVision. I'm like, why? It's like, I think it's been changed. It's like, okay. I watch it. Like, I don't saw a thing, but I don't, like, what am I looking for? She's like, look again. And I look again, and I'm like, Son of a bitch.
And then this is in the final episode.
This is in the last episode.
Okay.
Do you want me to help? Do you want some info? And then you can watch
No,
it?
no,
Okay.
no, no. I want to watch it
Okay.
and see if I get it. And then if I don't, then I'll ask for help. Although now that I say that, I'm like, what if it's something that I don't know anything about? It's like an Easter egg to a comic thing that I've never even heard of.
It's not that.
Okay.
Just don't focus on what's directly in front of you.
Okay, that much I figured I would be the thing.
Look in
like
the peripherals.
Okay.
That goes for everybody listening. Like, go check out WandaVision end credit scene when you're going out to the cabin. There's a thing.
Okay.
And now we have other theories and more questions.
Oh my God. Okay.
Especially if it's a fucking edit.
Right. That's what I was going to ask is like, so you're saying that it has been changed since the original release?
Yeah, her friend thinks so, but I don't know. I can't go back in time and double check.
Right. If it changed it, it's like trying to watch a version of it's like trying to get your hands on the despecialized Star Wars.
Yes, the despecialized. I think that feels like a good place to stop with Loki for this week.
Perfect.
Largely because talking about the special editions reminded me of a thing.
Yes.
So again, LegoCon was over the weekend. If anyone's interested in Lego at all, you can, if you didn't see,
Live stream?
If you didn't see the live stream, it's about a 2-hour long video. It's on lego.com. You just go to lego.com. It's right there in the menu bar at the top. It says LegoCon. Click on that, do all the things. They talked about a whole bunch of stuff. They started off the show by doing, they met with a bunch of AFOLs, which is adult fan of Lego, to talk about their tips and tricks. And once the show got started, it took place in, like I said before, the Lego house in Billund. They started talking with designer of the Lego space stuff that's going out, which is the NASA Space Shuttle Discovery, the ISS space station, which came from Lego Ideas. And one of the new Lego city sets that's coming out is based on the Project Artemis. And it has it's got a neat app where you can like put a live countdown board for launching the rocket on your phone, and then you slide the phone into the Lego set so it looks like the little Lego people are looking at this giant screen. It's really cute. But they also talked to a NASA astronaut and found out that like NASA and Lego have been working together for the last 10 years. And the Artemis project is all about getting us back to the moon in such a way that it's a test run for colonizing Mars. So we're going to colonize the moon, which is neat. But like they also talked about, there's a worldwide, it's like a collaborative project called .Lego House, where you can go and submit a pattern done on a 6x6 Lego base plate with little Lego dots. Just make it a pattern, send it in, and those designs will get made and then put up on this giant wall all summer long. Definitely something to check out. They brought up the new Lego Harry Potter sets that are coming out, which are updated versions of the original Harry Potter sets. That they're hitting kind of their anniversary. I think I want to say 20th anniversary. Yeah, it is the 20th anniversary of Lego Harry Potter, which is crazy. They also did a little talking about Lego Masters. I'm going to surprise our listeners for a moment. I haven't seen a single episode of Lego Masters, not one. everyone in the world that knows me has gone, "Oh, you've seen Lego Masters, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Nope, haven't watched it. Mostly because I think if I watch it, it's just going to fill me with so much FOMO that I can't handle it.
Well, and
Um,
it's a competition show, right? Like a reality competition,
it is.
which is
It
not
is
your jam.
normally no, that's not my jam, but it is also Lego, so I could kind of deal with that. Um, but they had one of the head judges. This is a woman named Amy on the show. Um, I'm like, oh, okay. It was apparently a like 6'2" tall Scottish woman who talks about Legos, which is a Venn diagram that I didn't know I was interested in. Let's see, they talked more about Lego ideas. They interviewed the guy who had designed the Lego grand piano, who actually teaches piano lessons and not builds, but he maintains and tunes pianos for a living as well. And that was kind of why he created the Lego grand piano set, so he could have a working piano that he could take apart and show people how you take apart and put back together grand pianos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as well as the new typewriter set, which just came out. It's gorgeous. The other big news was they are putting out. They've been working on this for a long time. The first step was all of the plant-based or plant Lego pieces, like trees and bushes and things like that you can build with.
They're plant shapes.
All plant-shaped Legos are made from plant-based oil.
Oh,
So
interesting.
so
And that's separate from recycling plastic to make certain Legos as well?
so they've never recycled plastic. They use because to maintain the integrity of their product, they've always used ABS plastic and high grade. Like I was talking with an engineering student years ago about one of the other things that Lego does. Like Lego's molds for their pieces have to be so incredibly precise that they will make machine molds for other companies for their products because they have a higher higher level of quality to their work.
The accuracy of
Yeah.
this like building to spec.
Exactly. So like everything that comes out of the Lego factory has to fit with every version of Lego that has existed across 50 years. So, but the latest step is they are figuring out ways to make Lego bricks out of recycled plastic from single-use water bottles.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yep.
I mean, I only glanced at it while I was looking at all of the different topics that were covered, but that was one that caught my eye.
So, like, if they can figure out how to convert more and more plastic into Lego product and still have maintained the same standard of quality that they're used to, even like if it's in like a percentage, like that's huge because people still want Lego.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can just use recyclable plastic, fantastic. There's a lot of it. It's mostly in the ocean where people put it.
Yes.
The other things they talked about were, of course, new stuff for Minecraft, new stuff for Lego Super Mario, which are very cool. I'm just not the demographic for it, so you'll have to forgive me if I blank out a little bit there. They talked with a Friends designer, and they also kind of gave a overview of the next season of Lego Ninjago, the TV show, which Lego Ninjago is also celebrating its 10-year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is to date probably one of their most successful original series that they have done. And then then they got to Star Wars.
Oh
And,
boy.
yeah, and for Star Wars, they unveiled 3 new sets, all set in season 2 of The Mandalorian. And this is kind of why it's going to tie into the Bad Batch. So one of them is the little armored truck thing that from when they go to raid the Imperial base with Grief Karga and Cara
Yeah.
Dune. So it's got Grief Karga. It's got 3 stormtroopers. One of them is a new artillery trooper, so he's got yellow markings on his helmet. So that's a little tank thing. It's gorgeous. It's really cute.
Did they not make a Cara Dune?
They did make a Cara Dune, which I get why. Like it's cheaper. I feel like they missed an opportunity to make a Bo-Katan instead, but you know, I also figure, yeah, this is gonna be the last time they're making Cara Dune, so what the fuck. So then there's an Imperial cruiser, a Moff Gideon's Imperial cruiser. So it's got Moff Gideon, it's got a Dark Trooper, it's got Grogu, it's got the Mando, it's got Cara Dune, and then it has Fennec fucking Shand.
Nice.
Ming-Na Wen on her Twitter has been agog over the fact that she is now a minifig. It's like that's starting to become one of the. It's like, yeah, I've got an action figure, but do you have a minifig? Minifig. The cruiser is really cool. They kind of introduced this whole piece about the Mando sets by showing a smashed set on the ground, and then it shows this little kid in a Mando costume standing on the roof of the building in the rain, looking very sad, even though you can't see through the helmet. And then there's this little girl sitting off to the side holding a Lego built Grogu, and she's wearing a Ahsoka headgear. And so she holds her hand out and summons the Force, and you see all these Lego pieces reverse and go back into the shape of the ship, and then it flies all the way back up to the hands of the Mando standing on the building. It's like, yeah, you just reversed the film, but that was really cute. The final ship for Mando season 2 is Boba Fett's starship, and it comes with the updated Boba Fett, which I'm really excited about because it's now you've got warrior monk Boba Fett with black and robes underneath his armor. The armor itself looks like it has been repainted the way it was in the show, and then it also comes with Mando. It's a $50 set, and it's a smaller version of the Slave One than they've done in the past 5 years, which is great because it makes it a lot more affordable, but it still has the same level of detail to it that like the larger $200 sets do.
Is it comparable in design like putting it together?
Yeah,
The challenge level?
Like.
I forget what they refer to that as, but
buildability.
like easy, medium, hard, or is it like a range of 1 to something?
It's not creator level, but it is intermediate to be sure. It has a lot of working gears. It has a handle on the underside of it that pulls out so you can swoosh it around. It also comes with a little loading cart that you unfold in such a way that the ship can sit on it. And then they closed out the show with a little competition, and they were played out by DJ LLAMA from their video line, which I need to look into more and then maybe talk about it on the show at a future date. Video is, I'm not the demographic for it again, because I'm an old man who doesn't understand TikTok.
Video, VIDIYO.
Yeah,
wow.
video.
That's very hip.
It's a series of sets with very unique minifigs, an AR app, and Lego tiles that trigger programs within the app, and it makes you a DJ.
This feels similar to Amiibo, I think they're called for video games.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
they exist for Nintendo Switch, but I think they exist for other platforms too. You get a physical something and then it causes digital actions.
Yep. I think they originally sprang up during the age of the Wii, but anyway, that was LegoCon. Again, Lego.com. Go check it out. It's if you're into Lego, it's worth your time.
Yeah, so it's a lot of good stuff.
So the thing that you had sent me was a news article pertaining to Boba Fett's starship.
Yeah. So, most Star Wars fans are well aware of the fact that Boba Fett rides around in a ship known as Slave One, and that's been the case for decades.
Yep.
I believe it technically belonged to his father, didn't it?
It did.
Or does he inherit it when he's hanging around with bounty hunters and such?
See, I don't know what happened to the ship between the death of Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones and when we see Boba Fett with the ship in Empire Strikes Back.
I could have sworn he's on it in the Clone Wars.
See, I don't remember. I think you've seen it more recently than I have.
Yes. Yeah, I was pretty sure. I'm like my brain is like visually remembering Boba Fett on Slave One with his. Are they bounty hunters or just outright bad guys? That part I can't remember, but it's during the Clone Wars stuff. So,
okay.
At any rate, it's Boba Fett's starship. Its designation is Slave One. And like you mentioned, in the past, whenever a Lego set has come out of this particular ship, it has been referred to by its title, Slave One.
Yep.
Not a great name. I don't care what George Lucas says. Not a great name.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And there's no rhyme or reason as to why it's called that, as far as we know.
Right. And as of currently, there is a big push to change the vernacular that we use. And instead of referring to people as slaves, which sort of makes that their identity, we are moving towards referring to such people as enslaved peoples and they're human traffickers as slave owning people, just changing the way we word things so that it's just better. It better describes the reality of the heinous situation.
It puts the onus on this was a thing that was done to them, not a thing that they are.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that it's a big deal. They're not. Disney and Lego are not rewriting the canon. They are just opting not to use the title, the designated name of the ship. They're just describing what it is instead.
Yeah.
Boba Fett's ship.
And here's the thing that, like, when I saw this, I saw the ship and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. On the package, it's just called Boba Fett's Starship. I mentioned this to Merrick, and Merrick's is like, yeah, they probably want to stop using Slave One on children's toys. I'm like, oh yeah, that would make sense. And that was the last, like, that was all the thought that it took. It's like, oh yes, of course. This is a thing that we put on toys for children. Let's maybe, think about what we're doing. I don't feel like that it's any deeper than that. Then, like, let's not put this on a branded toy that represents two different companies and a major franchise, a major intellectual property franchise. It's like, let's move on from that, and everyone knows what it is. Like, they like you said, they did not strip the name Slave One from the name of the ship. It's still called the Slave One. It just means toy packaging won't say Slave One.
Mm-hmm.
That's That's all this means. And
It's the difference between me saying Tyrion or my dog.
right. For the toxic fan bases to again attack this as you're trying to be woke or you're trying to do this or you're trying to do that, it's like, what the fuck is your problem? Because this is 100% your problem and not a problem with the thing. It's like, if this makes you that mad, it means that you have other things going on that you need to address. And largely, they're going to make you realize that maybe you've been kind of a shitty person. We don't want to have that conversation with people, but that's the conversation to have.
Norm is like, Norm is saying it was a ship named by white guys who were living in a total vacuum socially in the 80s, you know, when it was a great time to be a white guy, no boundaries, while putting up every possible boundary for anybody else. I mean, that's a pretty fair summary of what it is. Like, no one thought about what that name could mean to other people when they see it. And
Sure.
if your mission is to sell toys based on a TV show, you are going to do whatever is going to be acceptable to the largest number of people. And guess what? Most people don't enjoy the term slave.
Yep.
And I'm curious how much of a fuss, how much of a tantrum toxic fanboys would be making right now if the actor who once very briefly played Boba Fett wasn't fanning the flames and talking about how like idiotic this move is on behalf of Disney and like they're boycotting the mouse now. By which I mean what is his name? Mark Anthony Austin, who is Boba Fett for like what, 45 seconds?
I stand by the fact that I am more Boba Fett than that asshole is.
Yeah, he played Boba Fett in A New Hope. After they made this, yes, after they added in a bunch of unnecessary shit, like fucking Han Solo tripping over Jabba the Hutt's tail. That's how important this guy is.
Yep.
He's tripping over a tail, level of important.
Like I'm not going to begrudge him his IMDb credit, fine, but that does not in any way, shape, or form make him Boba Fett. And I still actually need to remember, it's not Boba Fett, it's Boba Fett.
You're 40 years of saying it one way.
I know, but like when Attack of the Clones came out, Tamura Morrison tried to teach us how to say it, and we still said Boba Fett. And that season 2 of Mando, it's like Boba. It's like, oh fuck, we've all been saying your name wrong. We have been saying your name wrong. It's Boba Fett. Yeah, like, yeah, fuck that guy. That's all I got.
Yeah, no, I don't even care enough about that guy to say fuck him. I'm like, I don't care what you think.
Man, Manju says fuck that
guy. And Zach in the chat mentions like, man, is there any smarter career move than getting blacklisted from Disney for standing up for hate? I'm like, did you not see what happened to Gina Carano? Although depending on who you ask, she's making a big comeback. So whatever. And Beck says, yeah, go ahead and boycott. Then maybe there will be less people at Galaxy's Edge.
That would be lovely.
I would love that.
I'd take that. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually would be totally fine if every toxic fan would actually, like, rather than whine about it on the internet or protest and petition for dumb shit, just boycott, just walk away. You know what? You've got Chick-fil-A. I have walked away from that decades ago, and you can have that. And then I will keep Disney because you're mad about Slave One or not calling it Slave One, whatever. Exactly. I think that's a fair trade-off.
That is a fair trade-off. So like speaking of clones and Disney and Star Wars
And bounty hunters.
and bounty hunters, last two episodes of episodes 8 and 9 of The Bad Batch.
Yeah. And I'm actually
Um,
glad that I was behind because these two episodes belong together.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of shitty having to wait an entire week to see what was going to happen. Like, oh man. Ugh.
Alright, so episode 8 was called Reunion.
Mhm. Which
And
could only mean one thing.
yes, very, very obviously they were finally going to have their face off with, or at least their first face off with Crosshair.
Yep. And I like the fact that episodes 7, 8, and 9 all happen within a couple days of each other. Like
Mhm.
8 takes place, they're still just a few hours after removing chips from all of their heads.
Yes, they're in the same place. They haven't.
They're just trying to raid the planet for as much as they can steal so they can go sell it on the black market. And then the Empire and Crosshair show up.
Not only that, but we learn that the Kaminoans, at no surprise, are trying to track down and bring back Omega. She is a very, very valuable asset to them. And they finally, the show finally lays out, not that I feel like this was obvious to fans, people who've watched a lot, if not all, of the back material regarding clones. Omega is basically like Boba Fett in that she is original DNA, unaltered, so she didn't have the rapid aging to, bring her up into soldier appropriate age right away. She's still a child.
Yep. I think the only alteration to her code is that she is a woman and not a man.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, she has the exact same DNA coding as Django.
Right.
And
and thus, yes. And they already explained that the genetic material that they've been working with through various iterations of clones is deteriorating, and the clones have been of a lesser quality in more recent iterations. And so if the Kaminoans really want to keep their contract for supplying the Empire with soldiers, the now Empire with soldiers, then they need to get Omega back, so that they can mine her genetic code to make fresh batches of pure, uncut Kaminoan clones.
Which, when you take it from a solely economic standpoint, the Kaminoans will only continue to survive if they are allowed to keep making clones for the Empire the way they used to make it for the Republic. Because they're looking at the very short end game of like, if they cut us out of this loop, if they do nothing but have recruits, they're not going to need clones. They're not going to need us. And I think we have a pretty good idea of what the Empire does to things they don't need, and that is nuke them. Use them for target practice.
At a minimum, they would just have no industry anymore, and then they would be left to their own lack of resources.
Yep. And they do have a lack of resources. I feel like that we're just going to blend into 9 as well, since like you're saying, that this really went together well as a two-parter.
Well, let's finish sort of recapping episode 8. Is so Crosshair and some of his new troops show up because they want to take out Troop 99. Bounty hunters, the Kaminoans have been working to get Omega back, and that has taken the form of Cad Bane, everyone's favorite Clone Wars bounty hunter.
And if you look at the timeline, I believe that Cad Bane is the the apex bounty hunter of his time. He's not the only bounty hunter, because we've come across every single one of them. Like they've fleshed out Aura Singh from Phantom Menace. We've gotten more backstory on Bosk and Dengar during the Clone Wars. They introduce more bounty hunters in that show, but Cad Bane, out of all of them, has a particular knack of, if not completing his mission, always getting away. He's damn near impossible to kill off, and that
he's had a lot of perceived deaths. I feel like in the Clone Wars series, at least.
And as Merrick has pointed out to me, he's got a lot of tech in him. There's a lot of replacement parts. It's like, yeah. So he has every single one of those close calls that he walked away from has made him even, like, he's the walking embodiment of, if it didn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And in his case, it also makes him more cunning.
He is a very wily character. He's not easily fooled. He very rarely shows his hand, even when he has partnered with you to achieve a mutual goal.
No, yep. The only thing that you can be sure of is that whatever the mission is, Cad Bane's going to come out on top.
Speaking of someone who will definitely cut you loose after the fact, or when you're no longer needed.
Yeah, so him showing up to have a good old-fashioned high noon showdown with Hunter, that was rough, because it's like, I love Hunter. Hunter's great. He does all of these great things. He cannot win in a gunfight against Cad Bane. He
is not a quick draw.
No.
That was a good old-fashioned, like, cowboy movie showdown.
Yep.
And Hunter is not that.
No, he's
Cad
not.
Bane is.
And Cad Bane is so much more. Like, he definitely genuinely feels like a threat. He feels, the way that Cad Bane has been portrayed throughout the Clone Wars and now in the Bad Batch, is what comes across to me as what we were always told that Boba Fett could do in the original trilogy. It's like, that's how bad a badass that Boba Fett is. That's what he does. It's like, yeah, but we've never seen it. He just looks cool.
Yeah. Norm in the chat is saying, like, Cad Bane is that guy who I think could best the Mandalorian as a bounty hunter. And that definitely got me thinking, like, well, it got me thinking about Boba Fett. Like, he had all of this clout in the past, but you never ever saw it on screen,
right? Until
the Mandalorian.
Yep. Mandalorian season 2 has now retroactively fixed Boba's place in the canon and place in the bounty hunter universe. I think that's currently being carried over in the Star Wars comics. There is a miniseries running through, I think, multiple titles called War of the Bounty Hunters. And it's Boba Fett trying to get from Bespin to Tatooine with Han, Frozen, and Carbonite, and the, like, 16 people that steal him away from him, and then Boba has to, like, kill them to get him back over and over and over again. Yeah, it's War of the Bounty Hunters.
That feels like it would be fun to watch.
Well, I think we're gonna get. I think I've added it to my poll list largely because I think it's going to matter when we get to October and Book of Boba Fett starts.
Damn it! Now I want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is Marvel. You can trade weight one of these things.
It's true. They don't need my money. They get enough of it.
Yes, they have. Yep.
So yeah, Cad Bane and Hunter have a standoff, and yep, literally one-on-one, old-fashioned Western movie style.
Yep.
And Cad Bane gets the jump on him, takes Hunter down, and then drags Omega kicking and screaming
Yep.
on his ship and flies away.
Yep.
And that's where it ends. That you get a really cool POV scene of the rest of the Bad Batch dragging Hunter back onto the ship, but you don't really know how he ends up.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a cliffhanger ending on that one.
Which, fortunately, people don't have to wait for, because we're now at that point where we've all seen episode 9. Norma's calling it now. I think Hondo will make an appearance at the end of Bad Batch. I would agree with that, especially since Hondo is in Rebels. I don't believe that.
Oh, that's right.
Hondo does not have an ending as of yet that's been on screen, so he's still in his prime during the Bad Batch, so he's definitely going to show up, because Hondo and Sid run in the same circles. They absolutely have to. So I will agree with your calling there, Norm. I've got a few of my own to mention before the end of the show.
Oh, all right.
So the episode 9, we get warring bounty hunters. The Bad Batch calls in to Sid to figure out what they know about Cad Bane. She knows of him by reputation and knows well enough to stay the fuck away from him. So she doesn't have anything that can help. But they do end up getting a lead. And Omega, to her credit, like, I love the fact that this is how they play Omega. At no point is she ever the kid in, like, even when she's in danger, she's not in distress. She has taken everything that she has learned from the Bad Batch and puts it to use. So it's, I need to get out of this cage. Once I'm out of the cage, then I need to find communications. Once I get communications, then I can call for backup. Once I've called for backup, then I just need to stay alive until they show up.
Mm-hmm.
She is still scared. She is still a kid. She still acts like a kid, but she's smart, and they play her as kid smart as a kid learning, using the lessons that she's being taught, which for a kid show is incredibly important. Like, show kids having their own agency, using it, and knowing when to ask for help and how to accept it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love everything they've done with Omega so far. It's so impressive.
It reminds me that at the beginning of episode 8, it occurred to me that she's basically been leveling up as though in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
This whole series. First she gets her little communicator watch, and then she gets her crossbow, and I guess, like, the skills. Every episode she's developing a new skill and having opportunities to exercise the things that she's learned. And I don't want to say that it culminates in episode 9, but you see so much of it come together with that outline that you just shared of all the way she step by step meticulously worked her way into essentially saving herself.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, she did have to wait to, for someone to come to where she was, but she got free, made that contact, and stayed uncaptured until help came, which is fucking impressive. And
part of that help was help that she didn't rely on, but she did capitalize on, and that was in the form of Fennec Shan, who showed up again, who is also working for the Kaminoans, but not the Kaminoans. She's working for one, and clearly the Kaminoans have opposing viewpoints about the importance of Omega and who she is.
Well, it seems like there's one specific Kaminoan who is very invested in her for reasons that go beyond, if not fully contrary to why the the chancellor of the Kaminoans
Right.
wants.
Sorry,
That is his title, right?
Prime Minister, I think.
Prime Minister. Thank you.
Something like that. Sorry, I had to plug in my Surface. So I was fiddling with things.
Gotcha.
Fiddly.
Oh, you're fine.
Um,
I feel like I should know any of their names by now, but I don't. They're not huge characters in this. But so the prime minister who wants her back because she's a very important asset, and in this arc has said, once we have her back and we get the genetic material that we need, you're going to terminate her.
right.
Which
Because
is,
she's just an experiment to them.
yeah, it seems wasteful to me if she's their last, pure genetic copy. But then there's the other Kaminoan who I believe, if not her Omega's engineer,
Mhm.
has at least been her caretaker, and they have a personal relationship. It's just basically like her mom, I'm gonna guess. Unless
Yeah,
it was
that's
more
what it comes across
communal than
as.
that.
Yeah.
But I didn't pick up on a more communal upbringing of her. It's not like she had other young clones to grow up with.
Right.
And kids want someone to connect with. So I feel like it's the only obvious answer is that they have a close personal connection. And so this is the episode where we find out that Fennec Shand, who has already captured and almost taken Omega away once before, is doing it on behalf of this one Kaminoan who doesn't necessarily want to bring her back, but just keep her out of the hands of the rest of the cloning facility.
Yep.
And anyone who has any say in that situation.
And this is where I want to tie back into Mandalorian, because I will be very surprised if things aren't deliberately moving this direction. Sorry, I'm going to back up first. The fight scene between Cad Bane and Fennec Shand was impressive. It was impressive in a way that I was momentarily afraid that Fennec Shand was going to kill Cad Bane. And I don't want a dead Cad Bane. I certainly didn't. Like, I get all bounty hunters end up meeting a violent end, but man, I didn't want them to just bring him back for the Bad Batch and then kill him off. That would have been like him getting away. It's like, yeah, she ties him up and throws him up over the side of the building, and he still rocket boots himself away back to his ship. It's like, yep, that's classic Cad Bane. Always gets away.
Yep.
Even when you think you've done him in, gets away. But the fight between the two of them was great, especially since having watched Shield and watched Ming-Na Wen fight, like there were moves I'm like, that's not mocap of Ming-Na Wen, but you all watch her.
Nice.
Like those are Ming-Na Wen martial arts moves. I don't. If we ever get a chance to interview Ming-Na Wen, I want to talk to her about whether or not she saw herself becoming an action movie star or an action TV star at the age of 50. Like, was that in your plan? Did you go, you know what? When I'm 50, I'm going to become a badass. Just a badass fighter that everyone's going to go, oh yeah, she walks into a room with 20 guys, you're going to need more guys. Also, I find it interesting that she came to Omega's rescue as if she were the cavalry, because that's her nickname on Shield. It's like,
nice.
I think she's getting a reputation.
That's the good kind of typecasting, I feel.
It is. So it's like, It's like, oh, I'm in my mid 50s and now I get action roles. Okay, cool. I'll take them. But yeah, like you said, Omega gets away on her own and gets to a place where the Bad Batch picks her up easily, and she's reunited, and they all figure out, well, this is why they want you back. They had another clone, Alpha, and that clone was unaltered and went with Jango Fett, and Alpha is Boba, which is why they're Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end.
Oh, boy.
I don't know exact ages. I am guessing that Omega is roughly 2 years younger than Boba.
That feels about right because he's like not quite adolescent when we meet him in Clone Wars.
Yep.
And how long was the Clone Wars? Like I know the series lasts forever, but
the Clone Wars is 8 seasons. The Clone Wars themselves takes place about over 4 years.
okay. So let's say he was 10 at the time.
He was
Now,
10 at the beginning of the war.
okay. So then that would make him about 14 now, which would make Omega 12-ish.
Yeah.
That works.
Which is about where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we can. We have not yet confirmed that Alpha and Omega even know one another exist, because Alpha was payment to Jango. So Alpha was not raised by the Kaminoans. Alpha was solely raised by Jango.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they lived on Kaminoa for at least 10 years.
Wait, I thought it was Camino.
Camino. What is it, Kaminoan? Oh, because we keep saying Kaminoans. Camino. Right.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't have it wrong all this time. Yeah, you're right. They stayed on Camino, but as far as I know, Jango didn't really have anything to do with any part of the clone creation or training process. He was just there because he's the asset and he needed to be nearby.
Yep. In case anything went bad, they still wanted him. It's like, okay, fine. I get to live protected on this ocean planet, and still go run bounties. Cool. Done.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, we know that prior to joining the Bad Batch, Omega had never even seen Earth, like dirt or fresh air.
Yep. She's lived on a water planet the entire time. So here's my theories. Fennec Shand is the connective tissue between the Bad Batch and the Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
She's in her mid-20s in the Bad Batch. She's in her 50s in Boba Fett. We don't know what happens to Omega, and we won't until the end of the series, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what they have done by making this connective link of like, they are both unaltered clones, they both age normally, they are both genetic copies, one male, one female, of Jango Fett.
They're essentially twins.
Yes. They are at the very least siblings. Fennec Shand is a bounty hunter with knowledge of that era all the way till now, knows who Boba Fett is, which means Fennec Shand knows that Boba Fett has a sister that he probably doesn't know about.
Unless I'm forgetting or I missed something, what I perceive the audience does not know is when Fennec Shand meets and joins forces with Boba Fett for the first time.
That's true. We are assuming that the first time they meet is when Boba rescues her in the desert, performs, like, fits her with cybernetic parts to save her life. But that may not be the first time they've met.
Is that something that's outlined in The Mandalorian and I just forget?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
100% why Fennec Shand showed up in season 2. She's like, I was dead in the desert. Boba found me, put me back together.
But we don't know when that was.
Shortly after, it was in season 1. In season 1 of The Mandalorian, the end credits shows Fennec Shand dead in the desert, and this
Oh,
mysterious
I
figure,
100% forgot that.
yeah,
Okay.
this mysterious figure walks up, and for the longest time, I'm like our theory in this house was, oh, it was Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon didn't want to leave an asset behind, so collected Fennec Shand. You don't hire Ming-Na Wen to play a character you're going to kill
Right.
in their first appearance, and clearly that was correct because they brought her back. And 100% did not see them going, oh no, it was Boba that found her in the desert and brought her back. It's like, okay, that's great.
Gotcha.
If Omega survives the Bad Batch series, I believe the intent is to have an adult actress play Omega in Book of Boba Fett. That is not, that feels like it's a 1 to 2 odds of happening if you were putting bets down.
That lays out some interesting real world logistical issues.
How so?
So Omega, I mean, I guess maybe that's not the weirdest thing because all of the clones like try to have like a little bit of individuality so that they all have like slightly differing aspects of their appearance.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, well, Omega looks like a white girl.
She does.
But and the actress that voices her is a New Zealander.
Specifically, a Pacific Islander New Zealander.
Yes, thank you.
Not a colonist New Zealander.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, buddy, come here.
And so then that leaves the quandary. It becomes another Ahsoka situation where they're like, okay, well, this is the voice of this character that's established, but we want a character who looks like this, and so we need to cast it differently now. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
I think that you can still cast someone who. This is where you start casting people who are Hapa. Because you can get the effect that you want and get the person that you want by casting someone who is half Asian or half Pacific Islander or part in any way, because that still carries through in features and then allows you to have other features that you can play with.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
It is weird to be that reductive, but that is a thing that can occur.
Right. Yeah, I don't
casting
mean for
director
it to be
worth their salt knows that by now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't mean to like make the topic or like make the character choices reductive, but it's just like we already saw this play out with Ahsoka, and then they roll out with already like a character whose on-screen animated appearance differs from the voice that embodies it. And mm-hmm. So if the long game is to create a live action version of this character, like what was your plan there?
Yep. I'm sure they have one.
Like, yeah, they probably
I'm 100% sure Dave Filoni has a plan, as we talked about last week. It's like, that's what he does. My long shot other theory about what's going to happen with Book, I think we're going to get live action Cad Bane.
That would be so cool to see.
And I think it's going to be Doug Jones.
That would be great.
So here's why. Nice. There was after the season 2 of Mandalorian. After season 2 of Mandalorian, they did another gallery special, which is the behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And they did, there's a shot from it of a bust in the special effects makeup department, right? It's someone's head and upper torso, and they're starting to put work on it. Of like, oh yeah, we're doing this to build out to see, to make makeup for this character. And you look at
Talked
the
about
bust,
this.
and the bust is Doug Jones. Like he's very, very familiar as long as you've seen him outside of makeup. I don't know that most Star Wars fans have seen him outside of makeup, or the casual Star Wars observer.
Mm.
But those of us who've been following him for years, you go, that's Doug Jones. Those of us who watch season 3 of Discovery know exactly what Doug Jones looks like. And you also know from season 3 of Discovery that Doug has taken a reduced role in season 4. Why would he do that? Unless, of course, he was filming some other Star-related show.
Oh.
So
I don't think I had heard about his reduced role in. Oh no, that's not true, because we know that his character is sort of like straddling homeworld versus Federation.
Yep, he's taken on a more ambassadorial role, so that Michael can have a chance at the chair for a while. I really think that that is the collective theory of this household. Actually, is that's exactly what Doug Jones is doing. We are not going to be surprised at all when they go. And Cad Bane has joined season 1 of Book of Boba Fett and season 3 of Mandalorian, and will also star in whatever crossover movie that they're building to take down Thrawn.
Just the core concept of Cad Bane in a live action setting feels like a must have at this point, because they're doing so much work bringing pre-existing animated characters into live action, and then live action into the animated series. Yep. And yeah, they're obviously working really hard to sort of not crossbreed, but cross present multi-platform characters. And if you bring back Cad Bane, you mean, because you could have thrown any bounty hunter in there, really.
Yep.
It could have been Hondo, whatever.
Hondo's not technically a bounty hunter. Hondo is 100% a pirate.
Pirates, you're right. He's a pirate. But that's the point. Is like there's no shortage of bounty hunters in this universe, so you didn't need to pick one we know and love if you aren't planning on doing something more with him later. So yeah, it feels like it feels evident that at a minimum we're gonna get live action Cad Bane. If it turns out to be Doug Jones, that's just the icing on the cake. Yeah. I could have sworn that in that episode of Disney Gallery, they sort of outlined that, like, oh, well, Doug Jones is basically like the industry standard for high-end prostheses. So we just happen to have busts of him. Like everyone who does SFX prostheses has a Doug Jones bust.
Yep. I think that is bullshit. I think there's some truth to it, yes, but I think they're trying to cover their own ass. So they went, did that just go out? Shit, make something up. Oh, Doug Jones is just an industry standard. We use his bust for multiple things. Why? He's built very specifically. He has a small head, larger shoulders, and is infinitely skinny, so that whenever you put prosthetics on him, he looks normal. So
it's a good base. It's a really good base.
Yep. Whether it's Doug or not, I think that I do think that Cad Bane is going to show up. That's my long shot call. If and when he does show up in live action, it's going to be so fun watching Merrick lose her mind, because Cad Bane is her favorite Star Wars character. It's definitely her favorite out of the Clone Wars, but I think overall, it's like that's her favorite. It's
He's
like,
he's a lot of fun for a bad guy.
yep. Hi, dog. You're right here. Yeah. Do you want
And
to see
I
people
bet
again?
calling him a bad guy is a little reductive. Look at that
It's
nugget.
complicated.
Yeah.
Right there. There you are. Do you see yourself? You're not even look. Look there. Yeah.
Baby time on the Geek in the City podcast.
Doggy time.
Irma. Oh, she can't hear me.
No, she can't.
Put your headphones on, Irma. We're doing a show.
Do I need to get you little doggy headphones? Yeah. She's like, what?
Oh
are
my
you
god,
doing?
that would be too cute.
Yeah, it would. All right.
Little snaggle tooth.
Well, I think we've covered it. I think we have done it. We have done 2 weeks sans Aaron and talked the shit out of some Star Wars and some Marvel.
Aaron who? Don't tell him I said that. It'll hurt his feelings.
He listens to this when he edits it.
Only if he has time.
Oh, okay.
He didn't listen to last week's, as far as I know.
Okay.
I had to provide my own recap like a caveman. No,
Ooh.
we do need him. We need him to edit and write, do the write-ups and do the uploading.
We also need him because it's part of the show. It is part of, like, all 3 of the voices are what make the show.
Yeah, real quick while Aaron's not here. Like, I don't think we should have, like, in any like official capacity, a Geek in the City that does not include Aaron Duran. So he's just not allowed to quit. I don't care what he says.
That's fair. With the like understanding of when he has hit a point where he's like, no, I'm done. I'm done, guys. It's like,
No,
okay.
no retiring. There's no retiring.
There
from
is retiring.
podcasts.
If we do something else together or separate, that's fine. But I think that if there's not an Aaron, there's not a Geek in the City. I'm not foreshadowing anything either. Okay. Everyone's like, Bear went on vacation, and then they talking about we're gonna end the show. What's happening? Why is this awful? Now Irma's concerned I'm making cry face. It's not real. It's fine. Everything's fine, dog.
Everything's fine.
She's like, is it?
And to the listeners, it's cool. Everything's fine.
Everything's
Everything's
fine.
fine.
We are not ending the show.
I just like
I
to
mean,
tell
we're
Aaron,
ending the show for today, but we're not like Jesus.
We're not ending the show. Goodbye.
Jesus. This is why we need Aaron back.
That's right. He reins us in,
Terrifying to think that, isn't it?
which is funny because I always blame him for any out of controlness that I exhibit these days.
We rein him in as well.
It's a mutual effort. We're cross platforming here.
Yep. Like on times when you're unavailable and it's he and I, then we just sit here and ramble, like we go off on tangents. It's like, what were we talking about? I don't know. I think we passed the subject matter like 16 topics ago.
Worse than we did this week and last week?
We still thread things through pretty well. We managed to get back on track.
So you're saying it's even your tangents are even further removed from the topics that were intended?
Oh yeah, like today we're going to talk about Star Wars and then Birdseed and then maybe F1 racing and then some wrestling, RPGs, tequila. It's like, what?
Nothing weird here.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, I think we should go. I think that's it.
I think so too.
That's all I got.
I gotta go water some gardens here.
Water some gardens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I gotta go water Aaron's garden, actually.
Oh, I have to feed Irma. That's why she's looking at me like, food. I want some fucking
Feed
food,
me.
dude. So,
That's
food.
why I feed my dog before the show starts. I don't want to be
Alrighty.
I don't want to be stared at all night. All right. This has been Geek in the City. I have been Beanarita.
And I have been Kaebel Hashtani.
And we'll talk to everybody next week.
Bye.
How do I stop live stream? There we go. And stop recording. Yes.